Sarah stood in the center of the small workshop, surrounded by metal panels and tangled cables. The hum of power tools and soft chatter of volunteers filled the air. Today, they were building a virtual meeting pad, a VR booth that could bridge the gap between Earth and Mars in real time. Sarah had joined the project weeks ago, hoping it might bring her closer to Liam. But now, she felt overwhelmed by the complexity. She picked up a slender cable and studied its connectors. She had never worked with VR hardware before. In college, she had studied literature, not electronics. Yet here she was, soldering wires, driven by the memory of Liam's bright eyes and the laughter they once shared. Every bead of sweat that fell on her shirt was a reminder. Humans did not back down. From challenges, they learned, they adapted, they fought distance with courage. A voice called her name. Jin, the lead engineer, waved from across the room. "Sarah, could you test the audio link on Station 5? Sarah nodded, her heart pounding. Ain't. She took a headset and microphone from a shelf and carried them to the testing station. The panel lights blinked in greeting. She slipped the headset on and spoke into the mic. Test 1, 2, 3. Her voice echoed in her own ears, slightly delayed. She frowned. "The echo is too strong," she told Jin through the built-in communicator. He guided her through adjustments, his calm instructions steadying her nerves. After several tries, the echo vanished. Sarah smiled as her own voice sounded clear and true. "Good," Jin said. "Now imagine this, running thousands of kilometers away, connecting to friends under different skies." As Sarah's chest tightened. She pictured Liam on Mars, slipping on a similar headset in his own station, hearing her voice as if she stood beside him. For a moment, her sadness faded into hope. At lunchtime, Sarah sat alone on a bench outside the workshop. She opened her Hala diary and scrolled past old entries. So many days had passed since she sent the letters and video. No reply. She closed her eyes and let the warm sun touch her face. She remembered how Liam once told her that humans were like sunflowers always, seeking light, always turning their faces to the sun. She tapped a new note. "I will keep turning toward hope," my communicator buzzed. It was Anya, her friend from childhood. "Sarah, you're up for the community bake sale tomorrow," Anya reminded her. "We need your cookies." Sarah laughed. Softly, baking cookies was far from soldering cables, but she agreed. "I'll be there." Back in her kitchen that evening, Sarah mixed dough and pressed it into shapes of stars and hearts. She thought of sending the cookies to Mars, but quickly dismissed the idea. Spacefarers ate more practical fare. Still, she packed extra cookies into a tin box stamped with a smiling sun face. She wrote a short note and tucked it inside. A taste of home. Keep looking for the sun. The next morning, Sarah joined the bake sale at the community plaza. Stalls lined the square, offering cookies, breads, and fruit preserves. Families and workers drifted by, sharing smiles and stories. Sarah sold her tins quickly. With each sale, she told buyers about the VR project and her hope to reconnect with Liam. People nodded and offered encouragement. A little girl pressed a drawing into Sarah's hand. A picture of two friends reaching across a starry sky. Sarah's eyes welled with tears as she thanked the girl. That evening, Sarah returned to the workshop. The VR pod stood in the far corner, a sleek, egg-shaped booth with glowing panels. It felt like a small spaceship. Volunteers installed the final modules. Jin gestured to Sarah. "Want to try the full loop?" Her heart raced. Yes, she managed. Inside the pod, she sat in a cushioned chair and pulled down the visor. Darkness filled her vision, then it bloomed into a virtual room. Blue and green walls curved around her, and a soft light diffused from above. In front of her float two controls, one for audio and one for video. She tapped the video icon, and a pale rectangle expanded into view. For a moment, the screen was blank. Sarah held her breath. Then a flicker, a Martian landscape, red dust swirling. Under a pink sky, she gasped. The feed was live. She spoke, her voice trembling. "Liam, can you hear me?" Silence. The screen wavered, then cleared. No face appeared, no face. Appeared only the empty Martian sky. Sarah felt her heart sink. But then the screen shifted. A faint silhouette moved in the distance. A figure approached the camera. Sarah's eyes widened as she saw Liam's shape grow nearer. He blinked the visor up, brushing dust from his uniform. His voice came through, crisp and clear. "Sarah, is that really you?" His smile shone brighter than any star. Tears filled her eyes. Sarah pressed her hand to her chest. "Yes," she whispered. "It's me. I've missed you." Liam took a breath and stepped forward until his face filled the screen. His eyes were warm and full of wonder. "I've missed you more than I can say," he replied. This is incredible." Sarah felt a surge of hope, human resolve. She realized was not just in building machines or sending letters. It was in never giving up on each other, no matter the distance. It was in turning toward hope and standing firm under alien skies. They spoke for hours, sharing stories of their days, of challenges and small victories. The virtual room became their bridge across space. When they finally logged off, Sarah felt lighter than she had in months. She stepped out of the pod into the real workshop. Volunteers cheered. Sarah turned to Jin and smiled. "You did it," he said. She shook her head. "We did it," she replied. And in that moment, humanity's heart shone brighter than ever, united, hopeful, and relentless in its love. Sarah woke before sunrise, her heart full of excitement. Yesterday's test of the VR pod had worked, and she and Liam had shared their first real conversation in months. But today, the workshop was quiet. Notice on the bulletin board caught her. Funding review next week. All projects at risk." Sarah's chest tightened. Without funds, the pod might shut down. She walked through the empty rows of workbenches, touching the smooth metal frames as if they were old friends. Each piece of equipment, each wire and circuit board, had come together because people believed in connection. Now that belief was in danger. Sarah sighed. She felt the weight of distance again, not the distance between Earth and Mars, but the gap between hope and reality. Determined, she gathered her tools and headed to the community hub. Volunteers were already setting up tables for the weekly meeting. Sarah cleared her throat and addressed the small crowd. "Our VR project saved a friendship yesterday," she said. "It can save many more. If our funding stops, we lose more. Then a machine, we lose our chance to reach each other." Murmurs of agreement spread through the room. An elderly engineer named Ramos stood. "Humanity always finds a way," he said. "We just need to show them why this matters." Sarah nodded. That was the spirit of HFY, humans facing impossible odds and finding strength in unity, she felt. A surge of hope. After the meeting, Sarah organized a fundraiser. They would host a live demonstration in the city's central plaza. People could step inside the VR pod and speak with volunteers on the moon colony or the orbital station. It would show investors the real power of human connection. Sarah drew up flyers, posted them everywhere, and spoke to news holochannels. She spoke simply and clearly. "Come see how Earth's hearts can reach beyond the stars." The day of the demonstration arrived. Sarah stood by the pod wearing her workshop overalls, her hair tied back. A line of people snaked through the plaza. Children pressed their faces against the glass panels, smiling at the soft lights inside. Musicians played hopeful tunes, and the air smelled of fresh bread from nearby stalls. For the first time in weeks, Sarah felt the crowd's energy course through her. Inside the pod, Sarah greeted the first volunteer. He was a teacher from the Titan settlement. His voice crackled through the speakers. When he smiled, Sarah's heart lifted. She guided the next visitor, an investor named Marlowe. He had a sharp suit and an unreadable expression. Sarah showed him the headset and the controls. Marlowe slipped on the visor and spoke to a volunteer on Luna. Minutes later, Marlowe removed. The headset, his eyes were bright. "This is more than technology," he said. "It is proof of what humans can do when we care for each other." Sarah beamed. The applause around the pod was loud enough to echo off the buildings by evening. Donations had surpassed their goal. Investors pledged to keep the project alive for another year. Sarah felt tears of relief. She thought of Liam on Mars and how this victory would bring them closer. Human courage and creativity had built a bridge across space, and people had answered the call that night. Sarah returned to her apartment under a sky full of stars. She set her holoscreen to record a message for Liam. Her words trembled with excitement. Today we prove that nothing can break our bond. The VR project has new funds. I can't wait to talk to you again. She pressed send, imagining the message traveling across the void. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The distance between her and Liam felt smaller now. Each act writing letters, building transmitters, testing VR, rallying the community had brought them closer. She realized that human strength came from small steps taken with hope. Again and again, Sarah closed her eyes and dreamed of the day Liam would visit Earth. She imagined showing him the workshop, introducing him to the volunteers, sharing fresh-baked bread in the plaza. They would walk together under the same sky, no longer separated by millions of kilometers. When she woke, sunlight spilled into her room. A new notification blinked on her screen. New message from Mars Relay. Her breath. Cog. Sarah woke to the soft hum of her datapad. A new message from Liam had lit up the screen overnight. Her heart fluttered, but when she opened it, she saw only a single sentence. Your video made me smile. Can we share more soon? No long stories. No details, just enough to remind her how far apart they still were. Sarah sat on the edge of her bed, tracing the words with a fingertip. Her joy at hearing from him warred with a fresh wave of worry. What if his life on Mars left little room for her? She rose and stretched, feeling the ache in her muscles from yesterday's celebration. Funding had come through, volunteers cheered, and investors promised more support. Yet inside her chest, an old emptiness loosened its grip. Sarah knew that. Human courage meant facing both triumph and doubt. She would not let fear stand between her and Liam's friendship. After breakfast, Sarah returned to the workshop where the VR pod glowed under soft lights. She watched volunteers fine-tune the haptic feedback gloves so Liam could virtually feel the touch of Earth's soft grass. The engineers adjusted small motors to mimic texture and warmth. Even the smallest spark of innovation spoke of human hope, the desire to be closer when distance seemed impossible. Sarah slipped on a pair of gloves herself and placed her hands on a sample of synthetic turf. A gentle vibration pulsed through the wires, and she imagined Liam's fingers feeling the same sensation beneath Martian skies. She closed her eyes and let a smile form. This small miracle showed her that humanity never stopped reaching out. Even across millions of kilometers, Earth's touch could follow. At noon, Sarah gathered her holodiary and stepped outside into the plaza. She found a quiet bench under a flowering tree. Birds flitted in the branches as she recorded a voice note. Liam, today I worked on gloves that will let you feel home. I wish I could feel Mars through your eyes, too. She stopped and listened to the recording. Her voice trembled slightly, but carried warmth. She sent the clip through the secure channel, hoping it would arrive in time for his morning. Meanwhile, she visited the message board, where community members shared thoughts. A new post caught her eye. Earth-Mars pen pals wanted. It invited people to pair up and exchange handwritten letters in the old-fashioned way. Sarah grinned. Handwriting felt personal and lasting. She signed up, requesting to be paired. With someone on Mars? When the form asked why, she wrote, to keep hope alive between worlds. She chose blue ink, knowing Liam loved that color. Back in the workshop, Sarah checked the haptic gloves again. A glitch made the warmth modulator flicker off before the full cycle. Frustration tightened her brow. She remembered how she struggled with soldering in Part 3. Humans learn by fixing mistakes. With steady hands, she rewired the sensor and tested it again. This time, the warmth lasted longer, pulsing like a heartbeat. She nodded, full of quiet pride. One more problem solved, one more bridge built. Evening fell, and lights blinked on across the city. Sarah walked home through crowded streets, carrying a small stack of Mars-bound postcards. Each bore a simple sketch: a sunflower reaching for the sky, a mountain under sunrise, and a pair of hands almost touching. On the back, she wrote short notes about her day. I fixed the warmth in your gloves. I sent a letter with blue ink. I miss your stories. She placed her name and earth at the bottom, sealing each envelope carefully. At her apartment door, she paused. Sarah looked up at the stars above the city lights. To her, each star was a reminder of human-reach families planting flags on moon craters, ships orbiting distant worlds, and friends speaking through screens that felt real. She whispered into the night, "We will not grow silent." Then she slipped her postcards into the courier slot and heard them drop with a soft thunk, promise made real. Inside, she saw the glow of her datapad again. Another message from Liam blinked in the corner. "Thank you for the warmth. I felt it." Sarah's eyes filled with tears of relief and hope. Human courage was not only in grand projects, but in the small gestures that kept hearts connected. She typed back, "I'm here, reaching for you, always." She pressed send and lay back on her bed, her mind alive with tomorrow's possibilities. No matter how far apart they were, Sarah knew that humanity's spirit would close any distance one hopeful step at a time. Asterisk. Sarah woke to the soft chime of her datapad's alarm. Today was the annual Earth-Mars Friendship Day, a celebration of the bond between worlds. Last year, she and Liam had painted murals on the communal walls of the colony. This year, she felt a hollow space inside her chest. He would be miles away on Mars, busy with new duties. She longed to see his art again, and to share her own. But she didn't know how to reach him across the void. After breakfast, Sarah gathered her art supplies, brushes, paints, and a small canvas. She walked to the workshop's new cosmic canvas area, where volunteers displayed artworks destined for the colony on Phobos. The idea was simple. Earth artists painted scenes of home, then the pieces were sent by drone to Mars, where Martian settlers could add their own touches and send them back. The project celebrated human creativity and unity, but funding cuts had threatened its future. Sarah believed in its power, especially now. She dipped her brush into bright cobalt blue and began painting. At first, she made simple shapes: a rising sun, a winding river, and tall trees. Then, her mind filled with memories of Liam, she painted a pair of hands reaching out, one earth skin tone and one dust red, fingers almost touching. Beneath them, she wrote in careful script, "Across worlds we meet." Each stroke was steady and hopeful. Even when she felt doubt, the canvas reminded her of human resolve to build bridges, not walls. Halfway through, another volunteer, named Marta, joined her. Marta was a sculptor who sent small lattice bridges printed in recycled plastic. "Your painting is lovely," Marta said. "I'll attach my bridge at the center. Together, it will show two worlds connected." Sarah smiled, warmth filling her chest. Human teamwork, she thought, made the impossible possible. She added finishing touches: a rallying moon, distant stars, and swirling dust clouds. The mural felt alive. When the painting was done, Sarah and Marta carefully packed it into the launch crate. Notice on the wall said, "Last launch before winter solstice." Sarah's heart raced. If they missed this window, the art would not depart. For months, she pressed a volunteer badge to the console and scheduled the crate for immediate dispatch. The screen confirmed. Departure set in 4 hours. Relief washed over her. She had acted quickly, showing that human determination did not wait. During the 4 hours of waiting, Sarah walked to the city plaza. Music played, and families gathered for Friendship Day events. A hall-of-its screen displayed messages from Mars, children on the colony smiling, waving at Earth viewers. Sarah's eyes filled with tears, but not sadness. Hope shone there. She recorded a short message. "Liam, look for our mural soon. I hope it reminds you of home." She sent it through the public channel, knowing he might catch it. The workshop. The crate lifted gently on robotic arms and slid toward the launch bay. Sarah watched as its door closed, sealing the painting inside. She felt that familiar pull of distance, but also a stronger pull of pride. Human hearts reached for each other, even when separated by millions of kilometers. She raised her head and whispered to the empty room, "We've done it." That evening, Sarah returned home under the glow of city lights. A new message blinked on her datapad. Message from Phobos Relay. Her breath caught. She tapped it. Open. There was a single image, a photo of her mural, now in progress on Phobos. Around her painting, Martian artists had added red dust patterns and silver streaks to represent Tharsis volcanoes. In the corner, she spotted a small handwriting. In dusty red ink, Lee. Her heart soared. Sarah pressed her palm to her chest, feeling her pulse steady. The art had reached him. He had seen her hope come to life. Q. She typed a quick reply. Your additions are beautiful. Thank you for meeting me halfway. Then she sat back and allowed herself to smile fully for the first time in weeks. Before bed, she looked out her window at the stars. They were distant pinpricks of light, but to her they were familiar friends. She thought of Liam in his Martian home, looking up at the same sky. Human courage and creativity had built that tiny bridge between them, a painted canvas and a printed sculpture that spoke of unity. Distance might stretch across worlds, but as long as hearts were willing, no gap was too wide. Sarah closed her eyes and drifted to sleep with hope in her heart. Tomorrow would bring new projects, new messages, and new ways to reach out. She knew that each step she took, each mural, each message, each bit of effort was a testament to human spirit. Across the void, she felt Liam's presence, and she fell asleep smiling, certain that humanity's light would guide them back to each other. Sarah woke to the soft hum of the greenhouse lights. She slipped on her boots and walked down the narrow aisle between rows of green shoots. Today was the day the first sunflower seed she had sent to Mars was set to sprout in the Earth's Mars. Botanical Exchange Dome. Sarah's heart fluttered with hope and with nerves. If this small plant lived, it would mean more than a seed. It would prove that life and friendship could grow across worlds. She reached the sealed dome and pressed her palm to the glass. Inside, under gentle lead suns, a single green shoot pierced the red Martian soil. Its leaves were small but perfect thin, blades reaching up as if searching for light. Sarah's eyes filled with tears of joy. She remembered painting sunflowers for the cosmic canvas and wiring haptic gloves so Liam could feel Earth's warmth. Now, a living sunflower answered her hope, yet her chest still felt tight. The plant was in the dome, but Liam was still millions of kilometers away. She did not know when she could speak to him next. The dome's control console blinked. The live feed from Mars was open. Sarah tapped the Connect icon and saw a pale image of Liam in the colony's hydroponics bay. He knelt by the Martian greenhouse, carefully adjusting lamps over the sprout. "Sarah," he said, his voice crackling but clear. His smile was wide and gentle. "It's real. Your sunflower lives." Sarah's breath caught. She pressed her hand to her chest. "I see it," she whispered. "It's beautiful." Liam leaned closer. "To the camera, I want you to touch it," he said. "I wired the sensors so your gloves can feel its petals." Sarah's eyes widened. Only days ago, she had improved the haptic glove warmth. Now she would test its sensitivity on living life. Her hope surged. Back in the workshop, she slipped on the haptic gloves and stood before the VR pod with the live feed running. The virtual dome materialized around her red soil under her feet, a glass dome arching overhead, and the sunflower glowing green. She raised her gloved hand and gently brushed a virtual leaf. Soft vibration pulsed through the fingertips like the plant's tiny heartbeat. Sarah closed her eyes. She could almost smell fresh earth, almost feel the velvety leaf on her skin. Tears slid down her cheeks. Humans had built a machine that carried touch across space. They'd coaxed life to cross space. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for growing this with me?" When she opened her eyes, Liam's face was in the visor. He nodded and gave her a thumbs up. "Together," he said, "always." After the test, Sarah removed the gloves and stretched. Volunteers who watched cheered softly, some wiped tears from their own eyes. Sarah realized that this sunflower was more than a plant. It was a living symbol of human unity. Even when she felt alone, she could remember that on a distant world, Someone was tending the life she had sent, reaching out in return. That afternoon, Sarah returned home under the violet glow of evening lights. She set up her datapad and wrote in her holodiary, "Today I felt Mars under my fingertips." She paused. The words felt small. She added, "Human hearts can grow flowers in airless deserts, and we will not be silenced by distance." She pressed save and then opened a blank video message. She recorded herself, smiling through tears as she spoke to Liam and all the volunteers on Mars. "This sunflower is our proof. We can grow life and friendship across the void. Thank you for believing with me." She sent the message into the interplanetary net. That night, Sarah sat by her window, looking up at the stars. Each light was a world lost unreachably yet now, thanks to human courage. One of those worlds bore a flower from Earth. She let the thought settle in her mind. She and Liam together had made something alive in a barren place. She felt his presence beside her, even if he was far away. Still, the ache of distance lingered. Sarah hugged her knees and whispered into the dark, "I wish I could give you a sunflower in person." She paused, then smiled. One day, Lee. One day. Human hope lived in that promise. The next morning, Sarah stood at the workshop's announcement board. Under upcoming events, she added in her neat script, "Sunflower Celebration Live Feed from Mars, Part 2. She planned a community gathering where people on Earth and Mars could celebrate the sprout together, sharing memories and plans for more seeds. Each seed sent would be another testament to humanity's spirit. As she posted the notice, her communicator buzzed. It was a short text from Liam. "I can't wait." Sarah's heart soared. No matter how long it took, no matter how many stars lay between them, they would keep reaching. Human beings did not give up when hope seemed fragile. They tended it like a seed, nurturing it with every letter, every invention, every small. Determined to act, Sarah folded the announcement and tucked it into her bag. She stepped outside into the morning light, ready to share her hope with the world. The sunflower on Mars would keep growing, and so would their bond. And one day she knew she would stand beside Liam under the same sky, feeling the sun on her, face in knowing that nothing could break the human spirit's will to connect. Asterisk. Sarah stood on the platform at New Earth Spaceport, her heart pounding like a drum. Today was the day she would leave for Mars. After years of writing letters, sending art, building machines, and growing sunflowers in red dust, she had earned a seat on the first civilian shuttle bound for the colony. She held her small suitcase. In one hand and a seed packet in the other, the last packet of sunflower seeds she had saved just for him. Sarah took a deep breath. She was ready. Behind her, volunteers from the workshop cheered and waved flags painted with Earth's blue and green. They had raised funds to send Sarah as an ambassador of friendship. Engineers, artists, bakers, and teachers all came to say goodbye. Sarah felt tears sting her eyes as she remembered each face. They had all believed in her mission. They believed that one human heart reaching out could change the stars. She walked down the gangplank and stepped into the shuttle's corridor. The air smelled faintly of polished metal and recycled oxygen. A steward greeted her and showed her to a window. Seat. Sarah pressed her palm to the cool glass and looked back at Earth's bright curve. It felt small and fragile. It filled with life and hope. She whispered, "Thank you," to the world she loved. The engines hummed, and the shuttle lifted off. Sarah gripped the armrests as the ground fell away. Through the window, she saw the workshop shrink into a dot, then fade into the blue. Her heart ached with longing for home, but it also glowed with pride. Humans did not fear distance. They crossed oceans, mountains, and now space. They did it for love. During the journey, Sarah prepared her gifts. She carefully packaged the sunflower seeds, the painting they had sent, and the haptic gloves that carried Earth's touch. She practiced what she would say to Liam. She wanted him to know that no matter how far apart they had never been alone. Humanity's strength was in its unity, in its will to keep reaching, again and again. On the fifth day, the shuttle neared Mars. Through the porthole, Sarah saw the red world grow larger. the pale dome of the Botanical Exchange shining like a pearl. Her breath caught. Soon she would walk on Martian soil and feel its dust under her boots. She closed her eyes and pictured Liam waiting for her at the colony airlock, wearing his uniform and that warm smile that first made her believe in hope. The shuttle landed with a gentle shudder. Sarah unfastened her seatbelt and stepped into the airlock corridor. The crew guided her through sealed doors into the pressurized habitat. The air smelled slightly metallic, but she smiled anyway. Was here. She did it. She felt every human heartbeat that had carried her. At the end of the corridor, she saw him. Liam stood tall in his green uniform, his hair dusted with Martian red. His eyes searched the crowd until they found her. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then they ran toward each other and embraced. Sarah felt his arms tighten around her as if he would never let go. She held the sunflower seeds to his chest. And he laughed softly. "Kept them safe," she said, her voice trembling. He pressed a hand to his heart. "I knew you would." They pulled back and looked at each other. Sarah handed him the sunflower packet. "Let's plant them together," she said. "On Earth, on Phobos, and in the Mars Dome, wherever we can." Liam nodded. "And I have something for you." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small vial of Martian soil mixed with the first sunflower pollen. "Together, we will grow life across the void." Sarah's eyes filled with tears of joy. Humanity had done it. They had bridged the gap between worlds with creativity, courage, and love. She took the vial and held it gently. "Human hearts made this possible," she said. "Our hope carried us here." That night, Sarah and Liam walked under the domed sky of the colony, where Earth and Mars could both be seen, the blue glow of Earth hanging above the red plains. They carried a small pot with mixed soil and seeds. As they pressed the first seed into the ground, Sarah whispered, "For every person who believed, for every hand that reached out." Liam covered it with soil, and they watered it with shared laughter. In the days that followed, Sarah helped teach Martian children how to bake Earth cookies and paint cosmic murals. She worked with volunteers to install another VR pod, this time with 2 chairs, so friends on both worlds could stand side by side. She sent daily messages back to Earth, describing the sunrise over Olympus Mons and the taste of new bread made from Martian grains. Every night, she and Liam stood by the small sprout. It was tiny, but each leaf reached upward as if it knew its roots spanned. A soft glow from the holoscreen lit Sarah's small apartment, casting gentle shadows on the walls. She sat at her desk, fingers hovering over the keyboard, but she could not type the first word. Every message she tried to write felt hollow, as if the miles between her and Liam stretched wider with each keystroke. Liam had moved to the Mars research colony 6 months ago. He had spoken so boldly of new beginnings, of growing tomatoes in recycled soil, of studying red dust storms, up close, of sharing Earth's stories with Martian settlers. Sarah had cheered him on at the departure terminal, waving until his shuttle disappeared into the morning sky. But in the weeks that followed, the messages had slowed. First, a cheerful daily update. Then, a weekly summary. Now, a single postcard every few months, each bearing a brief hello from Mars and an unsigned love, Lee, tonight. Sarah felt that distance more than ever. The apartment was quiet, save for the steady hum of the holoscreen. On her shelf sat souvenirs from their friendship, a pebble from the alpine lake where they camped, a pressed flower from his high school graduation, and a shared photo of them laughing under fireworks. They felt like relics from someone else's life. She drew in a breath, her chest tightening. She remembered Liam's laughter, bright and easy, like sunlight on water. She remembered how in her worst moments he'd spoken words that made her believe she could rise above anything. And now, she barely recognized herself without him nearby. The screen blinked. Sarah's heart leaped, thinking perhaps it was a message from Liam, but it was an alert from the news feed. New Martian. Trade pact. Negotiated. Numbers and data scrolled by. No personal note. She closed the window and stared at the empty chat box. "I'm sorry," she whispered to the silent room. "I don't even know where to start." Her fingers drifted to the pebble on her desk, rough and cool under her touch. It had traveled with her through every change in her life. It was solid. When everything else felt shaky, an idea bloomed in her mind. Maybe she could send something back, something that carried the weight of Earth and the spirit of their bond. She pushed back from the desk and stood, stretching stiff muscles. She walked to the small kitchenette and filled a glass of water. Stars gleamed through the window above the city buildings. It was easy to feel small beneath that vast sky end. Easy to feel even smaller knowing her friend lived beneath alien stars. But Sarah was human. She had faced heartbreak before. She had looked the unknown in the eye and not blinked. This distance, physical and emotional, was only another frontier to cross. She set her jaw, letting that familiar spark of resolve flicker inside her. Back at the desk, she gathered paper and pens. She sketched the outline of a plan, a small package, something personal, something that spoke of home. First, letters in. Her careful looping script telling Liam every ordinary thing she missed and every hope she held. Then, a gift, a seed packet of Earth's heirloom sunflower. Chosen because Liam once said it reminded him of her smile, bright, golden, unstoppable. She paused, pencil hovering over the words. Doubt crept in. What if he thought her jealous? Of his new life? What if the package got lost in the Martian courier channels? What if he didn't reply at all? Sarah closed her eyes. She remembered the words she had taught herself in the darkest days. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Acting despite it. She was afraid, but she was stronger. She was human. Now, she could face this too. She wrote a draft of her first letter. Dear Liam, it's been too long since I heard your voice. Every sunrise here reminds me of the mornings we shared coffee as dawn painted the sky. I miss the way your eyes lit up when you discovered something new, and I miss your laughter echoing down the hall. Her pen moved faster as she poured honesty onto the page. The words tasted bittersweet salt of tears and honey of hope. She admitted how lonely she felt, how she longed to hear his stories not in brief data bursts but in his own voice. She reminded him of how they had promised to share every milestone together, no matter where life took them. When she finished, she read the letter aloud, her voice trembling. But with each sentence, her heart felt lighter, as if she had bridged the gap a little. She sealed it in an earth-blue envelope and began the next. Over the next 3 hours, Sarah wrote 3 letters, each one a testament to their friendship and to her hope. She packed the letters with the seed packet and a small vial of alpine lake water, a tiny reminder of adventures past. She tucked in a photograph of her recent sunset hike, captured with lamplight dancing on distant hills. Exhausted, but determined. She placed the package in the courier bin for Cirrus Shapina, a reliable service that now carried parcels to Mars every fortnight. As she dropped it in, she whispered, "For you, Lee. Come back to me." Walking home, she felt a quiet thrill. She had acted despite doubt. She had shown her humanity through hope and persistence. The night air was cool on her face as she looked up at the stars, imagining Liam on his world of red dust. A month might pass. 2 months, she didn't know. But she knew she had done all she could. And in that simple act of reaching out across the stars, Sarah felt the first stirrings of a bridge being rebuilt. Human courage, she realized, was not just in grand battles or daring explorations. It was in the small, hopeful gestures that kept hearts connected across any distance. And until Liam wrote back, Sarah would keep sending her words, her love, her sunflower seeds, so that their bond would not be silent, but would echo through space, steadfast and true. Sarah woke before dawn, her apartment still dark except for the soft glow of emergency lights. She had checked the courier confirmation twice already. The small package bound for Mars left her hands days ago, but the silence that followed felt heavier than any void in space. Her heart ached with the weight of unanswered questions. At her window, she watched the city skyline awaken. Honking hovercars, factory lights, distant sirens' life carried on as if nothing had changed. Yet every human voice around her felt distant. Like white noise, she no longer understood. She had sent her words, her hopes, even a piece of her past. Now she waited. She poured herself a cup of strong tea and wrapped her hands around the warm mug. Steam curled into the air, carrying a scent that reminded her of home. Hush. She closed her eyes and imagined Mars's thin sky, red dust swirling over frozen plains. She pictured Liam there, perhaps waking to the pale sunrise of his new world. Sarah set the mug down and opened her holodiary. She tapped a new entry. Day 12 since package sent, she wrote. No reply. My heart feels empty. She paused, her finger hovering. She could delete those words. She could hide her worry. But she let them stand. She was human, and humans felt fear, doubt, loneliness, all were part of her strength. She tapped the feed for interplanetary news. A headline read, Martian communications network delayed by solar flare. Relief washed through her. It was not personal. Their courier paths often stalled under cosmic storms. A weak smile crept onto her face. Even when the worst seemed possible, humanity's flaws were still proof of its greatness. Later, Sarah joined a small group at the community hub. Volunteers tested new long-range transmitters built from scavenged parts. Engineers from every nation gathered under banners that read One Earth, One Voice. Sarah remembered how, in war games, humanity used unity as its greatest weapon. Today, unity was her weapon against distance. She stepped up to a console and handled a delicate circuit board. Her hands moved with care, soldering a tiny chip that could strengthen Earth-Mars signals. Change she made was a promise. She would not give up on her friend. She would not let the void silence her hope. By midday, the team activated the transmitter. A low hum filled the room as power surged. Sarah's heart pounded. They tested a looped message, a simple tone encoded with Earth's greetings. If the Martian relay station picked it up, they would hear a single note of human solidarity echoing across millions of kilometers. They watched the status light flicker from red to green. A cheer rose among the volunteers. Sarah felt tears sting her eyes. In that moment, she knew. Human innovation, born of love and friendship, could bridge any gulf. She imagined Liam listening to that tone, understanding that she still cared, still waited. That evening, Sarah returned home and sat by her holoscreen. She recorded a short video message, her face soft with longing, her eyes bright with hope. She spoke in calm, clear words. Liam, I sent what I could. Hope you received it. No matter where you are, I am here. She ended with a steady smile. She uploaded the video to the interplanetary net, routing it through the new transmitter. A confirmation ping told her it was on its way. Out. The pulse under her palm felt like her own heart beat steady, determined, alive. Night fell, and the stars outside her window seemed to shine more brightly. She no longer felt small beneath them. She felt part of something vast and wonderful, a human race that reached for each other across the cosmos. Each ray of starlight carried her message, and each dark stretch of space only showed how far she was willing to reach. Sleep came slowly. Sarah dreamed of white Martian plains and red sunsets, of laughter shared between worlds. She saw Liam smile as he held her gift, a bright sunflower sprouting in hardened Martian soil. In her dream, he pressed a seed into her hand, a promise to return her hope. When she woke, the world felt different. She carried a quiet certainty. She had done all she could, and